The Europa League semifinals are officially here, and in today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys my predictions for the first leg matches. In the quarterfinals, we saw some incredible matches. We saw Freiburg score 6 goals across both legs against Celtigo, while Aston Villa scored 7 goals across both legs against Bologna. And we also saw Nottingham Forest slimly beat Porto in the last match day, while Bravo Badis was one of the craziest matchups we've ever seen in the Europa League quarterfinals. But now we have reached the semifinals, and we have 2 matches left. Nottingham Forest against Aston Villa and Braga against Freiburg. Now you guys may be asking, why am I wearing a college shirt? I literally just got back from work. Please don't come for me in the comments. But as always, if you enjoy these predictions, remember to subscribe to the channel. And as always, remember to like the video and share your predictions in the comments down below. But without further ado, let's get right into these predictions. Starting off with the all-English matchup, we have Nottingham Forest against Aston Villa. Bro, this is going to be a crazy match. I always find these matchups to be very interesting when we reach the later stages like the semifinals or the finals, and you see matchups where you have 2 teams that are both from the same domestic league. But I feel like this was very unexpected at the start of this Europa League. I feel like Aston Villa were definitely a team that a lot of people expected to get this far. But Nottingham Forest, considering the season they're having in the Premier League, I don't think a lot of people expected them to get to the semifinals. But honestly, I think they actually have a decent chance to make it to the actual finals. Now, I want to start off by talking about both of these 2 teams head-to-head, because obviously since both of these teams do play in the Premier League, that is a very important thing to talk about. So these 2 teams have already faced each other both home and away in the Premier League. In the first matchup, we saw Aston Villa at home. It was in January, and Aston Villa smoked Nottingham Forest 3-1. But in the second matchup, it was a little bit of a different story. It was being played at the City Ground. Nottingham Forest had that home advantage, and they did finish with a 1-1 draw. And that does show you how important the home advantage is in this fixture, particularly for Nottingham Forest. Because when they're playing at the City Ground like they are in this game, they can get a result against many teams across Europe. But in the second leg, when they're playing at Villa Park, the first feel like Villa could possibly score multiple goals against Nottingham Forest. But I do want to go back once again to their more recent matchup that happened earlier this month when Nottingham Forest had the home advantage. And like I mentioned, it did end in a 1-1 draw. And Aston Villa were the more dominant team in terms of possession. But I think Nottingham Forest actually could have won this game. Aston Villa's goal came from a Nottingham Forest own goal. Then they scored not too long after by Williams. And throughout the rest of the match, especially in the second half, Nottingham Forest has had some really good chances. And in saying that, Aston Villa's form over the last couple months have been really poor in the Premier League. If we remember, they lost that game 2-0 against Wolves, who are currently at the bottom of the Premier League table. We also saw them get destroyed by Man United. And even in their more recent Premier League match, they lost 1-0 against Fulham at Craven Cottage. But if you look at their form in the Europa League, it's been a completely different story. And that is the benefit of having a manager like Unai Emery, because he has the experience in these UEFA competitions. And if you look at them in the quarterfinals, I will say in the first leg against Bologna, they weren't that impressive, especially in the first half. They got completely dominated by Bologna, but they still came away with the 3-1 win. And then in the second leg, playing at Villa Park once again, I said already how advantageous it is for Aston Villa playing at home, and they smoked Bologna 4-0. It was an incredible game for Aston Villa. They were clearly the dominant team, and Bologna, a team who really troubled them in the first game. Couldn't even touch them when they were playing at Villa Park. And I feel like one player who's been really important for Aston Villa in recent matches is Ollie Watkins. Obviously, if you remember earlier on in the season, he was struggling a little bit, and there's been periods throughout the season where he hasn't been performing to his best. But when he is performing, he's definitely one of the most important players for Aston Villa. Obviously, he has the goal-scoring capabilities, and if you look at him in his last 10 matches, he's gotten 9 goal contributions. But speaking about important attackers for the team, we cannot leave out Igor Giz for Nottingham Forest. For me, I think in the Europa League for Nottingham Forest, he's definitely been their best player. Do you remember what he was doing in the league phase? He was scoring in almost every single game they play, and even in recent matches in the Premier League, he scored multiple goals. And I think he's definitely going to be a very important player for Nottingham Forest in these matchups against Aston Villa. Now, I do think a lot of people may automatically write off Nottingham Forest only due to their league positioning, as they currently sit just above the relegation zone in 16th place. While looking at Aston Villa, they currently sit in 5th place. But I feel like Nottingham Forest have actually been the team on better form recently, and I do think part of that is down to their manager Vitor Pereira. Obviously, when he first came to Nottingham Forest taking over after Sean Dyche, he had a pretty slow start. From his first 6 matches, he only got 1 win and most of the other games were all losses. But if you look at Nottingham Forest in their last 7 or 8 matches, they haven't lost a single match. And even if you look at them in recent matches in the Premier League, they've been absolutely incredible. They've scored 9 goals in their last 2 matches, and they've only conceded 1 goal. We saw a hat-trick by Morgan Gibbs-White in that game against Burnley. We've seen multiple goals by Igor Jesus. Obviously, we saw a goal from Elliot Anderson. We also saw a goal from Chris Wood. So I think Nottingham Forest actually may be able to win this game. Like I mentioned, the home advantage is very, very important in this match. And I do think playing at the City Ground, Nottingham Forest will be able to get the win. Now, I do think it will be a very, very low-scoring match, but I'm going to predict a 1-0 win for Nottingham Forest in this first leg game. Now, moving into the next semi-final match, we have Braga against Freiburg. I think this is going to be a very, very interesting match because if you look at both of these teams in the quarterfinals, they were scoring goals for fun. They scored so many goals. We saw Braga beat Real Batiste 53 on aggregate, and we saw Freiburg beat Salvigo 6-1. We saw over 7 goals in both of these two teams' games in the quarterfinals. It was crazy. I think we could see another goal fest. I feel like both of these teams are on red-hot form in terms of their goal scoring, but defensively I feel like both teams have been struggling recently. I'm going to start off by talking about the away team in Freiburger, and currently they are sitting in 8th place in the Bundesliga. And for me, arguably the main reason why I have a little bit of doubt in Freiburger is due to their defense. Their defense this season has been absolutely horrible. And the fact that they're sitting in the top half of the Bundesliga and they have a negative 8-goal difference is crazy. They've scored 44 goals, which to be fair is a decent amount. It's about 1.5 goals in every single game they play. But they've conceded over 50, meaning that they're conceding almost 2 goals in every single match. And if you look at their last 2 matches, they lost 2-1 against Stuttgart in the DFB Pokal. And in their last match, they lost 4-0 against Borussia Dortmund. They were horrible in that match. Defensively, they were all over the place. And to be honest, Dortmund just completely dismantled them. But where Freiburg can hurt you is in the attack. And that's for me their best area of their team. If you look at their striker, Matanovic, a very young, tall Croatian striker, and I've been saying it all season, I'm a big fan of this guy. And did you see his goal in that last match against Celto? That goal was incredible. But we also can't look past their winger Griot. For me, Griot is probably the main player in Freiburg's team. He's been there for 5, 6, 7 years. He's been a main starter in their team. And his ability he has on set pieces, long shots, it can really punish most teams in the world. And I really want to look back to Freiburg's quarterfinal match when they were playing away against Teltico, because at home they were very dominant. They won 3-0. But for me, I was very interested in seeing how they played away from home in the second leg, and they were incredible. They won 3-1. We saw a brilliant goal from Matanovic. We saw 2 great goals from Suzuki, and I think they were very, very good in that game. Very clinical. They only had about 9 total shots, only a few on target, but they made them count. They got the 3 goals. They beat Salvigo 6-1 on aggregate, and they were fantastic. Another player I want to mention for a Freiburg is their midfielder Manzambi. I think he's been fantastic this season. The ability he has to help out with the defense, to put in tackles, but also to play a more progressive role to help out with the attack. I think he's a very important player. Now moving on to Braga, if we look back to their quarterfinal fixtures against Real Batiste in the first leg, it ended in a 1-1 draw, and it was a pretty even match. But in the second leg, Braga beat Real Batiste 4-2. It was a crazy, crazy match. Real Batiste had a 2-goal advantage after 25 minutes, but then Braga pulled 4 back, winning the game 4-2 and 5-3 on aggregate. That game was absolutely mad. Real Batiste were definitely the dominant team in the first half, but the way that Braga showed so much spirit to come back in the second half. Very early on, we saw them score 2 goals within the first 10 minutes of the second half, bringing them back into the game, and they really never looked back from there. For me, one of the most important players for Braga's team is Ricardo de Horta. I've said it in many other videos, he's been very good for Braga this season. He's already gotten 14 goals and 4 assists in the League of Pugel, another decent amount in the Europa League as well. And if there's anyone that you can count on to 100% perform in almost every single game is definitely him. Another very important player for Braga is Salazar. He's also gotten around 20 goal contributions in the League of Portugal. Another very important player. He can provide the goals, he can provide the assists, and playing most of the time just sitting a little bit behind Ricardo de Horta. I think his passing is very, very incremental to how Braga play. Now, if we look at Braga so far this season, for majority of games they played, they have been playing the 3 at the back formation. And if you look at Freiburg, usually they do play the 4 20 minutes later. Now, for majority of the season, Braga have been playing in the 3 at the back formation, while Freiburg usually played with a 4 at the back formation. But even though Freiburg have that 4 at the back, they've been conceding so many goals. And if you look at Braga against Batis, they also conceded a lot of goals as well. So in this game, I think we're going to have a goal fest. I think we're going to see multiple goals from both teams. And with that being said, I'm going to predict a 2-2 draw. And that's the end of this video. Those were my predictions for the first leg games in the Europa League semi-final matches. As always, if you agree with my predictions, remember to leave a comment down below. But if you disagree with my predictions, remember to leave your predictions down below, and I'll be sure to reply to every single comment. Remember to subscribe to the channel once again, because I'm almost at 8,000 subscribers. And if you've been enjoying all the content recently, remember to subscribe to the channel. It would really help me out. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, remember to leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and stay tuned for more videos.